Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into the Star Wars set 75362, Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle. It has 599 pieces. And just to start, I want you to know, first off, disclaimer, I didn't build this ship to the way of its full or proper design. I actually made some modifications because I knew to myself, if I was to buy the ship, I was going to make modifications. Now, I was never intending to buy this ship, but because of the very reason that it didn't have a very good interior space, I think it looks like a nice ship, but I didn't have very good interior space. So with that being said, originally I wasn't going to purchase this ship. But then what happened was I kind of was doing some research and kind of watching some other videos on it, and I realized maybe I can mod it if I was interested in buying it. Then I also said to myself, I want to buy an Ahsoka figure because I want to have one just, because the new show is out and whatnot. And as you've seen on the channel, I previously reviewed the Ghost Ship and I wanted to have Ahsoka's character. Well, with that being said, I ended up finding a set. There's a set with Ahsoka versus Darth Maul. It's a dual battle pack. And I found that I think it's discontinued now, but I found it for $25. And then I said to myself, I happened to go to Costco and I seen this set on sale, which I made a video of because I wanted anyone who's part of the Lego community to jump on it. I saw it on sale for $50. So at that point I said, well, if I'm going to spend $25 to get an Ahsoka figure, might as well get the latest and greatest figure for $25 more than that, and I'm getting a full ship with it. And since I already had the mentality like, hey, if I was to actually do anything with this ship, I'm going to mod it. I was like, you know what? Let me just jump on it and I'll get it and I'm going to mod it. So with that being said, I purchased the ship. I did build it, but I built it with a slight modification, and I'm going to show you that inside this video. But before I get started there, we are going to first, I want to show you the modifications that I was going to do, and then we're going to jump back into this review process. But I'm just going to jump to that clip because I want to show that there were some changes I was going to make. I wasn't able to complete it like that, but I just want people to see what I was working on initially before the mod that I settled on, because someone else might be able to take what I was doing and expand on it. So I just really wanted to put that out there. So we're going to jump to that clip now. Hey, I just wanted to show this here. This is from the Lego set. I was actually trying to do a mock build or alternate build for the Ahsoka T-6 Starship. I'm going to throw the set link in the description. But essentially, I was trying to build an interior for the set. This gray base plate was the base standard that came with it. And you can see here, I took two 6x10 plates and fused them together. I needed to use this piece after the fact to attach this on the base, because that's how it normally goes. I try to go along with the instructions and just change things and adapt things as I went along. But the problem became that, I'm going to show you now in the instructions, this piece right here, this Technic piece that's there, this part on the build, as you see in the instructions, because I wasn't able to have that in my changes, I wasn't able to then finish, which those parts connect to the cockpit and maybe even the rear thrusters, even though I didn't get that far. You could see here what I was trying to do was that I was gonna extend some plates. I mean, I wasn't obviously finished and done, but just trying to play with it. I was gonna extend some plates down here so to have it completely covered, as you see there, somewhat. And then when this flaps up, when it comes to getting to the interior space, I didn't necessarily settle on what I was gonna build there, but I took some of the pieces that were already supposed to be a part of it and built what would have been like maybe a bed on this side, and this one could have been maybe a sitting area, whatever the case is. So to give you a decent interior space, this would have came down. You would have had on the front piece the cockpit area here, the thrusters, you would have had the wings coming out on the side, because the wings, when they come out, they're not attached to this piece, they're attached to the ring that would be here. So it would allow it to not really interfere. The only issue is my thing wouldn't have been able to spin completely. It would have spun maybe partially, and then when it would have hit something, but I would have been fine with that to have all that interior space. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. So what I'm going to end up having to do as I take this entire thing apart, what I am going to end up doing is I am going to take what was only the base panel that it rested on was about only I want to say 4 studs wide, but after you build up the side angles of it, you only have 3 studs of interior space on each side. I'm still going to try then to do something where I elevate the height a little bit, so that way I get a little bit of head clearance room, and then maybe I can just customize it to be like a little bed that they can lay in. So I'm going to try with that. But I just wanted to show this because once I take this apart, it'll never be seen again. Maybe someone else down the line will have a better way to build off of this and really do more with it than what I was able to do. But I just want to show this because I actually bought this set with the intention of modding it to get some interior space, because I really feel that this ship should have interior space. All right, I'll catch you guys in the finished product and the review of this ship. All right, guys. So now after you've seen that clip, now we're back. Now I'm just going to continue with the review. First thing we're going to do is show a little bit of the backside pictures here of the box. And obviously these are the characters that it's coming with. So you have Ahsoka Tano, Sabine Wren, Professor Huyang, and Merritt. So I'll keep the box on the side so I can remember all the characters' names. If I forget any of them, I pretty much know Sabine and Ahsoka, but Huyang, I'll try to not forget his name. So first thing we're going to do is jump into the characters. We'll start with that first. So here we have Ahsoka with her 2 lightsabers with clear color. Now, I'm not going to lie, part of me like the idea of getting colored lightsabers, but I understand that the purpose of her having clear ones is to denote, from my understanding, someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, that because she was no longer officially one of the Jedis, she didn't want to show that she was part of any side, obviously not part of Sith, but also not part of the Jedi. So she didn't want to have any kind of colored lightsabers, which they still look good. But there's something about me traditionally having like the color lightsabers that just kind of like stand out, you know. So they don't seem like as much generic pieces, but, you know, a color orientates green, blue, or the reds for a specific purpose. And then next we have Sabine. Now, here she is with her green lightsaber, and she has, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Before I continue with that, I just wanted to show, I know I showed her all around area, but I forgot to show her other face. So that's her aggressive face, and that's her calm, happy face. I prefer her being in the aggressive face mode. And here we have Sabine in her aggressive face mode as well. And then on the reverse, you have her happy face. You can see the back detailing. Now, some people have criticized this character for not having arm printing. But since I'm not very familiar with the character and all that, I've just really have known this character from the Ahsoka show. I'm only being introduced to a lot of these characters from the Ahsoka show, not Ahsoka herself, because I know that I knew of her from the Clone Wars. I seen most of that series, but as far as Rebels, I haven't seen. So there's a lot of people who talk about, well, you know, in the show Rebels, you know, even when it came to the Ghost ship, they're like, I want the Rebel crew. But for us who's just coming into things watching the Ahsoka show, we want the Ahsoka cast because that's what we know. So I'm fine with things not matching up with the Rebels style of things. Now she also has I'm just fine. I'm learning this now, which other people who may be familiar with Rebels would have known this already. But so Sabine is a dual Mandalorian and I guess you could say Jedi or Jedi in training. I don't know if she was considered a Jedi in the time of Rebels, but in the show, she is Ahsoka's new apprentice. Apparently, she had a little bit of training back in the days, but now she's officially her apprentice either again or for the first time. And so she has her Mandalorian gear. So here, this is her helmet, and I think it actually looks pretty nice. And then obviously it looks like any other Mandalorian helmet, but I just like the decals on it. It looks a lot more flavorful. And then she has these dual pistols that she wields. So it's almost like she's a 2-in-1 character because it's like she converts into being her Jedi form to her Mandalorian form, where she has her helmet and dual pistols. So that is her. And next we have Huyang. And once again, some people are complaining the fact that he's not silver because in the show he's silver. And some people also complain the fact that he is a minifigure style and not a droid figure style. But someone else made also the point that, well, C-3PO is minifigure style. So why can't Huyang be minifigure style? So I don't find anything wrong with it. I'm not like one of those sticklers about, minifigures and how they're done. I don't even care or feel bothered about his the color that he is not being silver. So pull the head off. This piece right here, he has a back piece and he has this piece that comes on him. I don't know if even though I've been watching the show, I can't remember to myself if he had like a little backpack piece or like just a part of his back that pokes out. But that's what he comes with to wear. So yes, just a little tile that goes on there that's printed. You actually get 2 of those. So you have an extra backup one. And he normally comes with in the set, like where everyone else has weapons, he has like a little modified little thing. Now, I'm sorry, he has a little toolkit thing, but I actually changed it because I used the other piece for something else. So I modified his little toolkit to put this on it. Normally it's just as a flat, it's a flat, like a cream color, like he is, 2x2, and it goes on top of this. It has like 2 pegs instead of 4 on it. But yeah, so something like that. So just to say that he comes with something that he carries on him, as well, just the way that the rest of the people have their weapons. And next we have Merrick, who is what do you call those guys again? I'm having a brain fart right now. So Inquisitor. So he is, in theory, you would say that he's an Inquisitor, but I actually looked up some background information, and apparently the time frame of all of this is after the time frame of, for people who've been watching the shows, it's much later after the time frame of Obi-Wan show, which had the Inquisitors. So apparently he's the last of the Inquisitors. So the Inquisitors are no longer around during the time frame of the Ahsoka show and the Mandalorian show, which kind of go back hand in hand, back to back in the same time frame. So the Obi-Wan show is a lot earlier in time frame, obviously because you still have Vader and the whole Empire, and that was during the original trilogy. And then the Ahsoka show takes place after the original trilogy is over. So, but enough rambling for a moment. Here we'll take a look at his armor. So he's got these shoulder pads, and his helmet looks like a knight's helmet, and this is obviously to hold his blade on the back, you would remove these. So it looks like, you know, the sabers are in, and then he pulls it out when he wants to take it off. Now his head is just black, similar to the way the Mandalorian used to be when we didn't know what he looked like. And then now also heads are gonna roll. Put this aside. You see he's got his back printing on his armor. It's like rusty, and it kind of is similar to the same as on the, no, I'm sorry, I meant to say the front. The front is similar design as on the front of his armor here. So this is really just supposed to be for the pads on the outside, like the shoulder pads. So in the front is supposed to just say like he's just adding the shoulder pads. That's why I guess they mimic the same front. So I'll throw that back in, throw his head on. A lot of people like this character already. He actually seems very cool. Put that on his back. Okay, so that is the full crew. I'll just line them up really quickly so you can see them all next to each other. That is the crew. And now we are going to jump into the ship. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I have made mods to the ship, and that was my intention. So disclaimer, and I apologize if you are expecting to see a video where it's a review of, you know, the ship as is, but that was not my intention when buying it. Matter of fact, first, I'm sorry, before I even jump into that, we're just gonna look at some of the extra pieces before I get into it. And some of these pieces are not extra, actually. They're pieces that were supposed to go into the regular build, especially the side compartments on the ship that lift up where you would have storage. And you're gonna see that because that's what I expanded on. And obviously, if you looked at the previous clip that I just that I put ahead of this in my previous build, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, you have a couple of extras. And then these are the helmet pieces that go to Sabine's helmet, like the Mandalorian things with the eyepiece and whatnot. So let's get into the ship build. Well, the ship, I'm sorry. So here we go. Now, one thing to really note is that when it comes to this ship is, well, it's not very big. And the main gimmick of it is that it's supposed to spin all the way around. Let me adjust the camera angle a little bit so we can see this better. Okay, so this is supposed to normally spin completely around. Anyone who's been watched any other reviews already knows that. And this would spin completely. Well, mine doesn't spin completely. And with that being said, because a lot of people weren't even fans of the underbelly of it for the wings, that ends up being like not even a big problem because you're not going to be seeing the bottom of it on my ship. Just to point out while we're looking at the bottom already, this is the landing gear and it works very good and tucks away very nice. So I think that's a really nice piece. And obviously here we go, the engines, and that in itself is also a pretty nice detailing on those. I'm sorry if my lighting is not that great inside here, so it kind of takes away from the video quality a little bit. Now, like I said, so generally speaking, this thing would spin, and that's that. I'm not going to go too heavy into things because I know that you guys probably seen a bunch of reviews on this ship, and mine is not an official review because mine is modded. But here you go with the cockpit area, and you know, nothing special there, but it's nice. It works nice. This is a printed piece on top of that, so that part is great. Details on the top of the ship and the wings or whatever look nice on the upper part. Now comes into, and I'm realizing something too, which is kind of funny. I'm realizing my thing is a little, I don't know if the main set is normally a little bit this wobbly, but I did modifications that actually affected the structure a little bit, not a lot, but like where I can't really detail it in here, but there is a Technic bar that goes up and down, similar to what you see here. And the placement of that normally is supposed to run all the way to the top of here, but in mine it doesn't, and I'm going to show you why. So what I did here on both sides is I created interior space. Now, I didn't really do too much craziness with the interior. Now, that was always there for support, so I left it the same. And let me just grab a character that I could use to demonstrate certain things. So I left this here. So this could be used as this little piece here that normally would be there, but then it have all this kind of other kind of configuration. You could see it in other videos where it would be like you're sliding, just like their equipment goes in here. That's it. You can't fit the characters in here. So the way I have this, lift her arm up. One person could sit on that side, and then this can close, and now they're in the inside there. And that can act as a little sitting area. And then on the other side, you have kind of the same thing, except this is that little double tile piece I was mentioning before that I took from Huyang's, Huyang. I don't know if I'm saying that right now, but I took from Huyang's little, you know, handy tool thing, and I used it here. So that right there is simulating to be another little kind of bed area where you can just lay down there. And I used only the parts inside here that already came with the set in terms of like to make a bed, this and that. I didn't want to add any additional parts, including this was already there, because even though I had an extra sink piece from the Ghost ship, I didn't want to use that because I wanted to use pieces that we have already came with the set. So these things are already part of the set. And so there was a little sink inside there as well. So this person has like the bed on this side with a little sink. Like I said, the other side is just barren with nothing in it, but at least it's a spot that a person can sit or like lay down or whatever the case is. You can't close these if they're sitting, but only with their laying down. But you can leave them open if you're going to simulate that person's walking around. And I'll kind of get to that in a moment. But anyway, this closes without a problem now. So you could put this person here. You could put Ho Yang on the other side or vice versa. And then, you know, you can close both sides, and at that point you're just able to have your ship as is with the other people inside the ship. Now granted, I don't have the cargo room for holding their supplies anymore, which was originally what the point of this area was for in the ship, but in this case now you can at least hold the figures, and I don't think it took too much away from it. Essentially what I did in this build is, so right here, I added, it took me just a total of 10 1x2 black bricks I used. You can use any color, but I used black because that's what I had laying around. And it kind of fits into the build if you had like black or red or maybe even light gray. But I used 10 of them. I used 2 bricks high here, 2 bricks high there. And then in the front here, I used another 2 bricks high. So essentially I just elevated the whole thing up by 2 bricks high. It didn't affect anything else in the build other than the fact that if you see that gray bar right there, that's the Technic bar, just like there's the one on the back. Now, it was supposed to have a connecting beam that went across from here and went through it at the top area, but I wasn't able to do that because this thing was elevated in height. But luckily that yellow bar that you see going through, that Technic bar, goes from like somewhere in this middle area through. That gives it enough structural integrity that the extra piece you needed here was just additional structural integrity. So I didn't need it. And once I saw that into the future build in terms of looking down the book to see how it's designed, and I saw that was going to be there, I knew that I didn't have to add anything to support that. So all this build has extra is 10 black bricks. That's it. 10 black 1x2 bricks. And that's all that I added to the build to have this. Now, what I was going to mention before as far as play goes is that, say if you have it stationary and you're not swooshing it around in your hand, because at that point the character needs to be laying down. But if you have it down like this, you could then have the character in there. There's not a lot of room, but you could still have them stand up if you needed to. And it could simulate like, they're walking around, they're going over to the sink, they're doing their thing. And then the same on the other side. You would have some room here. Like I said, not to do much, but at least you could have them stand up. Maybe you want to have them working on something. Maybe Hu Yang has his little toolbox and he could be working on something. But the point is, you could have this ship stationary and simulate that they're sitting there doing their interior stuff. You can't really move them around much, but at least you can compose them with the idea that, when this flap is up, it's like you're just looking into the interior, similar to the way that, you have those module house structures where you open them up like sideways and see the back of it, and you're able to play in it. But then when you want to have it closed, you close it. So it's kind of like that. When it's up, you're simulating that he's walking around standing in it. But of course, when you are going to fly the ship, you would lay him down. But nonetheless, it works. And here I'm going to lay him down real quick. I'm going to take Sabine, just throw her in there real quick. Normally you would sit them down there properly, like how I had them in the laying down position, so they won't flop around. But I just want to do this to show you that, if Ahsoka's inside her in the cockpit area and you're flying around, you would essentially just be flying around and you wouldn't have a problem. Like I said, this only turns like that, but that's fine, because you could just make it where this is just for the purpose of like angling their turns for sharp turns or whatever the case is. But my point is, at least you now fit her entire crew in the ship. So I'm going to put the link in the description for the product on Amazon. If you guys have any thoughts or questions or anything like that, you can post them in the comments below. Yeah, this was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to buy this without making changes to it, because I didn't like the fact that it was, like everyone keeps complaining, this is a set that should have had interior space. So now you could see with this little mod, it wasn't much, but if you're happy with what I did here for an interior, you can essentially do the same, just build that up, and then from that point on, you just keep along with the build. You don't have to really change anything. This part, you're going to build it upwards like it's on top here, and it's going to feel different because there's going to be a gap like with certain parts, like for example, and this is very hard to hold with the whole swivelly wings, but this piece right here of the Technic brick is supposed to go up in that space. That's where it's supposed to be. But obviously you're not going to do that here because there's a 2 brick height difference, which is the 2 brick height difference you added in the base part. But it doesn't change the overall structural integrity of the ship. It still works. So you would just keep continuing the build, knowing that this part and everything in it is a little bit higher up. But yeah, like I said, comment below. What do you think of it? Do you like it? The changes, is it something you're gonna do? Is that something that will cause you to now buy the set where you wouldn't have before because you couldn't hold all the figures, where now you can hold the figures? Like I said before, is it a great negative that you can't spin it? In a way, you're losing that gimmick. Yes, in a way, it's not a big deal, simply because no one wants to see the bottom of it anyway. And as I get ready to try to spin this, what I realize is that if a person, say, was to take this piece and move it back just a little bit, I'm actually going to do that on air right now, and let's just see how that works. If I don't end up taking everything apart while I do this. And of course, but this piece is not on very strong and tight, simply because it doesn't have that other piece. It's, how it would normally be. So let's see. I think, okay, I thought I had more room to kind of adjust it more that way. I don't. But essentially, because you see you got like 2 different ones, I thought it was on the furthest one forward. It's not. But what I was going to point out was that if you were to say adjust this to kind of like, you know, maybe you could take this panel if you want, because just this tip of this wing, maybe you could flip it upside down or whatever the case is. But if you were to somehow manage it where it's just a little bit different, you would get that clearance right there, because that's the only thing stopping it is just that piece. So that's something to consider. But other than that, like I said, to me, I don't feel like it's a big loss, because I like that I have that interior space now to kind of play with, or even just, you know, put the characters in there for the purpose of them having a place to be. All right, guys, with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.